All right, today we're journeying right into the heart of Tibetan governance. We're going to meet a figure of immense power and mystery, an advisor who has literally shaped the course of a nation for centuries.
So let me just ask you this. Imagine a world where all the critical state decisions, we're talking military strategies, political moves, spiritual guidance, all of it came from a source beyond our physical world. I know, it sounds like pure fantasy, right? But for the traditional Tibetan government, this was a political reality.
And this reality, it all centers on this incredibly powerful institution, the Nechung Oracle. This is the official state oracle of Tibet. For hundreds and hundreds of years, this has been the designated channel for getting that otherworldly advice.
Now, the oracle's influence is, well, it's vast. This isn't just about general spiritual well-being. Now, the oracle gives specific advice on everything from religious practices to state security. And to do this, a human medium known as the Kuten enters this profound trance. He puts on these incredibly heavy, elaborate robes with a polished mirror on his chest to ward off negative forces, and then he becomes a physical conduit for a powerful, non-human entity.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? I mean, if the human is just the vessel, who is the intelligence actually communicating through him? Who is this being that's held this position of incredible trust for so long?
Well, let's meet him. The entity channeled through the Nechung Oracle is known as Pehar Gyalpo. That name translates to Guardian King. And his story, wow, it is absolutely fascinating.
So, Pehar is what's known as a worldly protector. But here's the thing, he wasn't always a good guy, at least not in the Buddhist sense. He started out as this fierce outside spirit, the leader of a really powerful class of beings called the Gyalpo, or king spirits. His whole journey from being this potentially harmful force to becoming a sworn guardian of the Buddhist teachings, the Dharma, is what really defines him.
And you know, this transformation, it wasn't exactly voluntary. Not at first anyway. It was actually the result of this huge confrontation that turned a potential enemy into a devoted guardian. His story is just this perfect example of how Tibetan Buddhism can absorb and transform these powerful local forces.
So this timeline shows us two really pivotal moments. First, way back in the 8th century, the great master Padmasambhava confronted Pehar, subdued the spirit king, and bound him with a sacred oath to protect Samye, which was Tibet's very first monastery. For centuries, that was his main job. Then, you fast forward to the 17th century, and the great Fifth Dalai Lama has a vision. He elevates Pehar, basically gives him a huge promotion, and formally makes him the chief protector of the Tibetan state, with the Nechung Oracle as his mouthpiece.
And this ancient prayer from the Nyingma tradition, it just beautifully captures how serious and sacred that oath is. See, Pehar isn't just a guard. He is the entrusted steward of all Buddhist institutions. It's a promise he is absolutely bound to keep.
Okay, so just when you think you've got a handle on who Pehar is, the story takes this really fascinating, complex turn. Because you see, Pehar isn't a single entity. He's this multifaceted being that actually shows up in 5 distinct forms.
This whole concept is known as the Pehar Na, which means the 5 kings. Each one of these aspects represents a different dimension of what it means to be an enlightened being, and each has its own specific job, its own look, and its own symbolism.
This table here breaks down those 5 forms really nicely. You have the body aspect, which is all about physical power and endurance. The speech aspect, that's for truthful communication. Mind represents that unwavering mental clarity, and qualities is about mastering your inner challenges. Each one has its own unique look, as you can see. But it's that 5th one, activity, that's really crucial for our story.
Yeah, because this is the main Pehar Gyalpo, the fierce, white form you see riding a snow lion. He is the active, hands-on protector. This is the aspect you'll see most often in Tibetan art, and, most importantly, he's the specific king who speaks through the Nechung Oracle.
So that brings us to his appearance. I mean, why does this great protector look so fierce? Almost terrifying, right? Let's take a minute and decode the symbolism of this wrathful deity.
Okay, so every single wrathful detail here has a deeply compassionate purpose. That fierce face? It's not about anger, it's about having the power to just crush delusion. His 3 faces and 6 arms? That means he's all-seeing and can act in a bunch of different ways at once. The snow lion he's riding symbolizes fearlessness. The flames are purifying wisdom. And all those weapons? They're tools for cutting through ignorance, not for hurting anyone.
This comparison just perfectly lays out Pehar's unique dual role. On one hand, as a spiritual guardian, he protects the teachings, helps people overcome their inner struggles, and acts as this fierce but compassionate protector for everyone. And on the other hand, as a state protector, he's giving prophetic advice, influencing major political decisions, and acting as this incredibly powerful institutionalized force in the government.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. Pehar Gyalpo is this one, singular, incredibly complex figure who just brilliantly embodies a core idea of Tibetan civilization, that the spiritual and the secular, the sacred and the state, they are fundamentally, totally inseparable.
So that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our modern world of data analytics and algorithms, what can we learn from a system that places so much trust in the wisdom of an ancient, oath-bound spirit king? Makes you think.